That's my alumni, you know what I mean?
Target locked. Ready to fire.
Yo, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the morning market report, guys. We've got a little bit of a mixed market here on the crypto side today. Looking at the stock market side, we do have the NASDAQ right there above my head, right there, slightly in the red right now, about 0.25%. But the S&P flat. Take a look at the Dow Jones; it's up 2%. Now the S&P is in the red, guys. We got FOMC today. And as the thumbnail indicates, I do believe we're going to get a hawkish rate cut today. What does that mean for the markets? How has the S&P performed when we've had rate cuts this close to the all-time high on the S&P? We're going to take a look at that data also. And we're going to talk about possibility of the bear market being short and $150,000 Bitcoin coming in 2026. Got an article on that. So not my TA. Got an article on it though. Show you what needs to happen on the charts and all of that to for that to be a thing. So you guys, without any further ado, you guys know what time it is. Take your seats, get your notebooks out, because class is in session and it's not going to go for me. Of course, there we go. Class is in session. There we go. All right, guys, class is in session. Welcome to the Morning Market Report. We come at you live every single Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you guys the news, the charts, the markets, everything you need to have knowledge. As always, brought to you by Chart Prime, our sponsor here at the channel. Much love and thank you to the whole team over at Chart Prime. Thank you for the indicators that have made me so much good money. Shout out to everybody in the chat, too. I am solo running today. I'm running solo. I'm riding solo like Jason Derulo today because OC just nowhere to be found. So it's all good. We'll make it happen. Let's go up here and see who all we got in here. I saw Mike Ballmer was in here early. There we go. Mike Ballmer, what's up, bro? Appreciate you being here. Trade Intuition, Crypto Coin Mindset. We're going to be redirecting over to Crypto Coin Mindset Keith and Trade Intuition right after today's episode. So make sure you guys stay tuned and don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. We'll be heading straight over there. Shout out to the mod queen, Alexandra G. We appreciate you always being here, lady. Jesse Gellick in the house with us today. We've got Hachi. What's up, Tobias? How you doing, man? Good friend of mine there, way back in the day over there on Coin and Chart Prime. That's the word. That's the line, please. That's him. Joe Watkins, appreciate you being here. Fecker, FH6, good morning, Piper and all. Good morning to you, bro. Appreciate you. Joe Watkins 3014. With the fallback of daylight settings, I missed the show because I'm already at work. Sorry to hear that, bro. And we just got the Alex O Crypto Gang, the OGs joining us in here. So shout out to the OGs joining us. The Alex O Crypto, the meanest show, evidently, in the entire crypto space. Fire. JR's in here too. Appreciate you guys being here. Let's go ahead and get in. Just wanted to give a shout out to the alumni and give a shout out to all of the audit gang. Let's go ahead and jump in on the news. We got some stuff to do over there. Actually, we're going to jump in on a chart first, and then we'll jump in on the news because we got data. We got data coming in today. By the way, if you guys didn't know, rate cuts have been happening. And with rate cuts, you would expect that mortgage loan rates would go down. No, mortgages went up today. 30-year mortgage. Take a look at that here. Also came in this morning. Let's go take a look at the chart over here, looking at what happened. So yesterday, as we were discussing in class, we were getting all of this bounce here on the quantum reactor. I actually thought that the quantum reactor was going to be weaker than the dynamic reactor, and that if it was going to break, we would break under this. But I did say if we hold support, watch for the 618. It's going to be 94,237. Where did we wick up to and break above, grabbing all this liquidity? Yeah, it would be that 0.618, and back down we are going. I will point out, though, that right now we are holding a critical support level because the scenario that we discussed was that if it breaks up here and it gets a rejection and it finds a bounce on the dynamic reactor and the 0.66 golden pocket, where could we be heading if it holds that? Guys, it would be the 50 up at 100,000. I actually have an alert set right now on here at about 97,262 because that's where my dynamic DCA comes into profit again. But we are in a rising wedge here. which typically does break to the downside. You guys have to keep that in mind if we do get this bounce up here, that we don't hit this previous resistance level coming in at about 95, 96,000, and then send us down to the bottom. Eventually, this will break out. Does it break to the upside like 30% of the time, or does it break to the downside like it does 70% of the time? We do have a downtrend arrow that has printed on the Oscillator Pro Plus here also. As long as this volume, the sell-off volume, these red volume candles down here stay short like this, meaning low volume, then I would think that we have a good chance of getting another green spike up. But it's all going to be hinged today on the FOMC data, because that FOMC, it's not the data, it's not the price, the rate decision that makes the market, right? I don't know why I'm on OC. OC is not here. There we go. It's not that rate decision that's going to move the markets. It's going to be Jerome Powell's speech afterwards. And if you guys are wanting to catch that live, make sure you tune into Alex O Crypto. He's going to be live doing that over there today. So, oh, look, late to class. What's up, OC? How you doing, man?
Oh man, very sorry. Things just got in the way. I saw your message and then as part of things happened. But all good, all good. Finally also got to make the show yesterday. It was a pretty good one. We took a look at 4 assets and we'll see how those are playing out. But what did I miss? What did I miss?
We talked about that the price action yesterday, catching on the golden pocket and all that, and not a whole lot. We just gave a shout out to everybody. I told everybody that you missed movement, and so this movement we left without you. You had to jump on a motorcycle to catch up to the convoy because we left the station. All right, we're getting ready to jump over to the news right now, though, OC. So let me get that set up, and then we'll come back and take a look at what you got. But yeah, guys, that's what I'm watching on the Bitcoin chart. I'm watching to see what happens with Jerome Powell's speech today. I think that's going to be the big factor. All right, jumping in on the news today, guys. All the news is fit to be news. Looking at the Into the Cryptoverse metrics today, we're currently sitting at $3.14 trillion on the total crypto market cap. Looking at the trend lines here, we are at 4.796 trillion. Shout out to Isaac joining the alumni. Hey, that gives you the ability to get into our Discord. That is the entry to it right there. That $5 that you just did, Isaac, gets you into the full Discord. Undervaluation right now on that crypto coin market cap, it is sitting at downside 34.5%. Looking at the wristbands on Bitcoin right now, sitting at a 42.8% wristband that was still leaving it in the 3x 3x DCA level. So if you're following the Piper plan for your dynamic DCA over in the Discord, I do believe we got that coming up. Remember, Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, best days in 2025 to DCA Bitcoin. So what about Bitcoin dominance? Currently, right now, sitting at 58.48% with the stable coins. Take away them stable coins, it's gone down slightly. It's at 64.54%. This was getting much closer yesterday to 65%, but we are seeing some Bitcoin dominance calm down a little bit. How are we doing on liquidations in the past 24 hours? Has that been crazy? Not too bad. 420 million, about a little under $500 million. No big deal. 123,868 traders got liquidated in the past 24 hours. Total liquidations coming in at $421.01 million. Largest single liquidation order happened on HTX. It was a Bitcoin trade for $23.98 million, OC. Almost $24 million on a single Bitcoin trade. They're lost, liquidated, gone forever. Let's go take a look at what we have over here. Oh, Alexander G shared my video. Thank you, lady. Let's go take a look at what the Fear and Greed Index is saying to us over here for stocks and crypto right now. Total right now on Fear and Greed, stocks sitting at 32. The S&P and the Dow Jones are both in fear. The NASDAQ on the upside move up 0.13% there on its scoring, leaving it in greed. Actually, it wouldn't be greed, I don't think, but it is positive for the day. But stocks overall sitting at 32. NASDAQ probably sitting at about neutral. Looking at crypto right now, total score of 26. Yeah, it's flat there on the fear zero. There you go. Looking at this flat, at this fear level, up 4 points on crypto. Bitcoin right now currently in the red, Solana in the red, Ethereum the only one in the green. Ethereum making some moves today. Are we seeing that flow, that old flow chart of Bitcoin into Ethereum? Will that equate to it moving into some of alt sectors? I don't think we get alt season anymore. I don't think alt season exists anymore as we knew it, because there's too many altcoins in the space and not enough liquidity to fill up all. It's like having, hey, you only have so much water, right? You're going to fill up these buckets. Okay, well, 17,000 buckets, I can do that. 20,000 buckets, I can do that. When you have millions of cryptos now, you just don't have enough water to fill up all of the buckets. So I think it's, hey, we'll focus on this corner over here, and then we'll take the money out of that, move it over here. And I think that's just what we're going to see in alt season, guys. Economists, I played this yesterday. I just want to touch base on this again, guys, because this was pretty relevant. Let me see if it plays. There we go.
Week's Fed meeting. Joining us right now is Jeremy Siegel, Professor Emeritus of Finance at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business. Also, of course, Chief Economist at Wisdom Tree. Good morning to you. What do you think we are going to hear from the Fed this week? And what do you think we should hear from them?
I think we're going to hear what I call a hawkish cut.
There you go, hawkish cut. So what that means is they're going to do a rate cut. But it's very likely that we could see him come out and go, it was a very split decision to do this rate cut. We're not really projecting anything in 2026, or maybe one rate cut in 2026 at this point. Keep in mind, Wall Street knows he's only in that seat until May. So it's very likely that we will see, people that count that in. Hey, he's only in the seat until May. Maybe we pull back until then, and then May we take off and get those rate cuts. But yeah, I'm thinking that Powell's going to be pretty hawkish in the speech today, especially with the job numbers and the inflation numbers and the lack of data that he's been able to get because of all the stuff. So Powell may wait for new data before signaling a rate move, which is exactly what I'm talking about for him not really putting out much data for 2026 and what the projections are going to be there. Let's take a look here at the TradFi side. Right now, Dow Jones up about 0.3%. S&P is pretty flat. It's been flipping back and forth, red and green. NASDAQ is down about 0.2%, and the Russell 2K is flat. Volatility index is above 17, which means we do have a lot of whiplash going on in the charts. Let's take a look at the bonds. Bonds were at 4.2% this morning on the 10-year. It's now dropped down to 4.17, getting a little bit of a pullback there. Gold sitting still at $4,227, but slightly in the red by 0.2%. And silver, let's go. $61 an ounce. I may have to get a I Love Silver soundboard too, man. Looking at copper, upside movement, almost a full percent, about 0.75%, sitting at $5.36 per ounce. The copper doing quite well. I got a chart that I'm going to show today too about gold miners, copper miners, and why we probably want to keep an eye on energy as the next big move. Platinum and palladium both down 2.5% each to the downside. Let's go in and take a look at the crypto bubble, see how they're looking today. Bitcoin is up about 1.7%. Look at Ethereum, guys. Crushing it. Up 6.6% on the daily right now. Other movers on the chart, XRP, BNB pretty flat. Solana's up 3.1%. Dogecoin 2.4%. Cardano's up 2.2%. Chainlink is up 1.9%, still sitting below $14. It seems like every time I see a green number here, this price is lower than it was the last time we saw a green number here. Keep that in mind when you see these big moves. They've pulled back really hard too on some of these. Monero was in the red for the last few days. It's now up 11% today, moving up one spot to number 16, taking out Zcash, which is only up 1.3% today, back to $435. That thing will not die. It just keeps coming back and rounding out the top 20. Swee losing it, dropping out of the top 20. Avalanche climbing up the mountain, up 4.4% today, moving up one spot into that number 20 position. Looking at the economic calendar, there you go, guys. There's the 30-year. The 30-year mortgage rate went from 6.32 to 6.33. 30-year mortgage is coming up. And it's continuing to go up, guys. I actually think that we have a chance that we see this 30-year mortgage rate hit 7% again. Keep that in mind if you guys are looking to buy a house. Employment cost went up slightly, so for benefits and wages went up slightly. Went down slightly, actually. It was 1%. It came down 0.2%. So wages coming down, the cost of their benefits, aka insurance, stuff like that, going up. We've seen that. I'm sure all of you have seen that too. That's your insurance for your auto, your health insurance, your doctor, your eye, the dental, whatever. All of that has gone up. And yeah, we're seeing that there with that benefits quarter over quarter price going up too. We're going to get this FOMC rate decision today. This is going to be 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. my time. And then 30 minutes later, we're going to get the Fed press conference with Papa Powell himself. Tomorrow, we're not getting much. It's going to be initial jobless claims. They're actually expecting that our weekly unemployment filings will be up for the first week of December, which just lends to what I said about him being hawkish, because we're seeing continuing weakness there in the labor market. And then on Friday, we're just going to get some Fed speakers. Nothing major going on there. Next week, we're going to get non-farm payrolls. That's where we're going to get some real data coming in, of course, conveniently after we get done with the Fed rate cut. All right. What is the chance of a rate cut? We're now looking at an 89.9% chance. Let's just call it 90. Shake off the BS on that thing and just call it 90% chance that we do get a rate cut today. 25 basis point is what I'm thinking. Check out this Fed decision here. Let's talk about this. The Fed decision is expected to feature a rate cut and a lot more. Here's what to expect. This is according to CNBC Pro. Let's get down here and talk about it. The Federal Reserve is poised to deliver its third straight interest rate cut Wednesday, while simultaneously firing a warning shot about what's ahead. And this is why I think, guys, that you are going to need to be prepared for what happens in the markets today. I do think that we get a sell-off in the markets today if he comes out this way. Following a period of remarkable indecision about which way central bank policymakers would lean, markets have settled on a 25 basis point, 1/4 percentage point reduction. If that's the case, it will take the Fed's key interest rate down to a range of about 3.5 to 3.75. However, there are complications. Yeah, you think? No data to push the data behind. Yeah, absolutely. So, some problem sets there. This is the rate-setting Federal Open Market Committee, the FOMC, is split between members who favor cuts as a way to head off further weakness in the labor market against those who think the easing has gone far enough and threatens to aggravate inflation. The warring factions of rate cut, guys, of the economy. Is the labor market weakening? Is inflation weakening? And if this is going up on inflation and job losses are going up and this is weakening, then you have stagflation. And that's what they really are facing here at this table, just to put it in the most simplest of terms. That's why the term a hawkish cut has become a buzzy term for this meeting. In market parlance, it refers to a Fed that will reduce, but will deliver a message that no one should be holding their breath for the next one. Meaning we may not get, hey, offensive Alex in the house, you offensive short MFer. What's up, bro? How you doing, man? Shout out to Alex O Crypto. That they will not, I think it's likely we only get one rate cut in 2026. I think today they may not even put out an indication that there's planning any rate cuts. They may be like, we don't have anything on the books right now, and we're going to wait until we get more data because we're behind on all of the reporting from the federal government. Like market participants, Mester, who saw November 21 speech from the New York Fed President John Williams as a pivotal sign quite clearly that another reduction was coming. Prior to that, the markets had been betting against the cut, particularly after Powell said explicitly at his own October news conference that a December move was not a foregone conclusion. Far from it. I think they're going to follow through with that last cut. I do think so too. We're going to get that today. Because I'm now concerned, but he thinks the economy has gotten to a place where policy is in a good place and that they are going to slow down on the cuts. And that's what I'm thinking too, because I'm more concerned about the inflation risk, the stickiness. It's so sticky. So yeah, aside from the rate question, the dot plot update, the committee may signal its next step regarding management of its balance sheet. Today, guys, though, overall, we are looking likely that we're going to get a rate cut, but it's not going to be a good conversation afterwards. It's almost like, I'm going to bail you out of this, son, but we're going to sit down and we're going to have a talk and you're not going to like that conversation. I think that's what Papa Powell is going to do to us today. The committee in October signaled that it would halt the process of quantitative tightening, which has happened on December 1st. or allowing maturing bond proceeds to roll off with pressures ongoing in the overnight funding market. Some market participants expect the Fed will announce it will resume bond purchases, though not at a pace that would suggest quantitative easing. And that is called TOMO. If you guys don't know, there is a thing out there called TOMO. I was asked yesterday about this by Alex O, and it made me think of it because right there in the article, it's talking about we should not expect quantitative easing yet. But we should have our eyes that they will be doing some stuff for getting bonds picked back up and stuff. And what is that called? That is called TOMO. There it is. TOMO. What is TOMO, you ask? Temporary open market operations. Okay. And so if you basically look at what this does, there's different types of quantitative easing. Temporary open market operations are short-term repos or reverse repos. You've heard me talk about that before. They're designed to stabilize overnight rates. They are not long-term monetary policy tools. It's not QE because they unwind very quickly, and then they're basically like a fine tune-up on the markets overnight. Okay, it's like, hey, this is looking a little. If it's leaning a little heavy that way, tomorrow morning when the markets reopen, central banks could have a flush. Let's do a little pump here, right? And so that's what they do. Now the question is how does the markets react to TOMO typically? And if we take a look at that, what it means for the TOMO ramp up, assume a backdrop like we have: tight but not emergency level policy, growth softening, labor data rolling over, real yields are still meaningful, the Fed extremely sensitive to something breaking in the plumbing. If we look at it from that perspective, we typically have immediate market seizures that happen off of this. Okay, so this is actually a bearish thing to happen. It ends up being bullish later on because it kept things steady, right? And they see that the Federal Reserve has policies in place for monetary policy to keep growth going. But the market reaction can be different with each. So if it's technical plumbing, very little reaction. But if it's a response like to stress, which we're seeing in the markets right now with from the labor market weakening and inflation sticking around, they go risk off at first. Markets see stress before they see the fix. Banks, brokers, and levered players get hit, especially if funding is tight. And then the second reaction, once the Fed clearly backstops, often risk on. So again, immediate effect downside, and then later on upside. Now I do have some pictures that I will show you in a bit, and it will show you how we react when there are rate cuts, when we are this close to the cycle end or to all-time high, and that will give that breakdown. We'll talk about this article here in a little bit. I am signed in. I don't know why it's doing that, but it's Standard Charter cutting Bitcoin's forecast in half. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then if we have time, we'll also come back and talk about how much money do you need to be in the wealthiest 10% of U.S. households by region. That number may surprise you. OC, I'm going to get all this set up over here on the backside for some talking about what happens when they do rate cuts this close to S&P all-time highs historically. And then we'll get in on what I'm thinking will happen with Bitcoin. But let's talk about those 4 trades you dropped last night on trade setups with OC guy, because if some people followed those, they may want an update on it. And if they didn't follow them, they may want to know what kind of fire you're dropping over there in your night show right here in Piper County. What you got for us, bro? You're muted, bro.
Thank you so much for that. So let's go for Bitcoin. We were following on this one here. We already have the movement to the downside. We're waiting for that bounce of the dynamic reactor as we have the goose heading here. So strap up, because we might have that bounce. If we are able to have that little bounce out of that dynamic reactor and the current trend line that it's forming, which is, let me draw it for you. There it is, this one in here. Well, we're going to be looking for our next possible short all the way at 96,500 and a possible breakout continuation if that happens. But so far, we're following through. Let me bring up another one where we left this out right in here. Another important factor on this, on Bitcoin, it is this huge trend line, right? Depending on exactly how you fine-tune that trend line, we are hitting or rejecting out of this one. Technically, we did create a higher high from the previous high, but that is a very, very, I don't know, shady higher high, only wicking action in here. So we need to find that support still in this little trend line upwards, and of course, come back up. Our money flow is not looking that great, but still it is within the line, so it's still rising up. What I don't like it is our true 7, since it's punching through the 0 line and with a red line. I mean, we have done that before, for example, in here, and not much happened. So hopefully we can find that support and then bounce back up. Let's follow up also with Ethereum. Okay, so in Ethereum, we are still holding on to it. Let me just control C this, of course. And we're waiting for that final push that we could be looking at it here. We already have a possible reversal going back down, and this is ranging. This is telling me that we are going to be having that final push to the upside. Let's move it like this. Let's update it. And then once we get that final push to the upside, we're going to be looking for a reposition ourselves for a possible short and then a rejection. If for some reason we reject out of here right now and then we go and find the 4-hour dynamic reactor, we are just like in Bitcoin going to be looking for a possible reentry on the dynamic reactor. We also talked about copper. So copper, I mentioned, hey, you know what? We are breaking. Let's set up a shorting here. I also mentioned I am not able to short copper, so I will not be able to be taking this trade. Something interesting, it is that right after we have the confirmation here breaking through, well, we have a gap in here from since yesterday, and we bounce back above that trend line, but seems like we are turning back around and basically confirming that lower high that we were initially expecting in here. Another important thing I was mentioning, hey guys, you know what? We are still pretty bullish. That's why I was signaling this. It was a 6 back in yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, right? So we're pretty bullish. So if for any reason you see your oscillator coming back up and closing back above the 0 line, close your short and head switch it. So we are basically just waiting if we're gonna have the next rejection, which I believe we are, like something like this, or if we're going to have a final breakout or breakthrough back above that 0 line, like yesterday warning, like something around this thing in here. But so far, that's what I got. And I did brought up 2 more for today, which is render and
Let's
ICP.
look at those in the alt section, because you just talked about copper, so I want to jump over there and talk about that real fast. And we'll switch places here. There you go. First gold and then copper. Now watch energy, guys. Gold miners, according to the Philadelphia Stock Exchange Gold and Silver Index, absolutely pumping like crazy, right? Copper, we're now seeing that. He just showed you that, not slowing down. Energy stocks, which is part of the list that we put together for the AI data centers. Guys, I think me and Blackie Chan there, BC Port Corp, as he is known in our Discord, I think we'll take a look at what are some of the energy stocks that we should be watching as an energy stock sector, because according to a lot of speculation on Wall Street, because of all of the mining of copper, because they need the copper for all the wiring for the data centers, these energy sector stocks may be the next thing to pop off. So have to keep this on our radar, and we will be dropping a list for that. Blackie Chan and I will get together, and BC Port Corp, I should say. It's Blackie Chan on here, so it's triggering me to remember that name instead of BC. But BC and I will get together and put together an energy stock list for those TradFi traders that are watching the AI data center stuff in the chat. But I want to go over this real fast while I'm in here. And flashbang warning, guys. It's a white piece of paper. It's coming up. What happens when the S&P gets a rate cut while the S&P is within 1% of an all-time high? And I want you guys to see 9 months later, 1 year later, predominantly green. But look at all the red that takes place here in the 1 week later, 2 week later, 1 month later, and even somewhat, about a 40% chance 2 months later. I think that we get a pullback going into January 2026, February 2026, first quarter. is why he can say Blackie Chan in 2025. Can he say that? I don't know. Can I say Blackie Chan in 2025? Oh, man. But yeah, I think that we do get a first quarter pullback on the markets here. And I think you guys need to be keeping aware of this. I mean, we are seeing, this is going all the way back to 1985 when we get a rate cut with the S&P being that high. So also, I saw somebody talking about larynx. Don't point out the larynx. It was about Dutch over there in Thailand. We won't go down that alley, but I'll stay away from that route of conversation. However, guys, if you see a lady with the larynx, you should absolutely ask them, "Do you have an Adam's apple?" Because I have a reason for it. I knew a girl that started having people talking behind her back that she had an Adam's apple. And no one wanted to say anything. And everyone started speculating around the bar, just back when I was in the bar business, that this was actually a dude. And nobody would go up and tell her about it. And then one day she went and was looking, and she's like, "What's going on with my throat?" And she started asking a friend, and she goes, "Yeah, some people have been talking about it." She's like, "Why didn't anyone tell me?" Turned out she had a tumor on her larynx, guys, on her voice box. So yeah, I'm just saying, for people's health and well-being, sometimes you should ask them, "Are you a dude?" So there you go. OC, let's go jump in on the altcoins. Actually, let's get in on Bitcoin. I want to do some top down on Bitcoin, and then we'll get into altcoins. What do you got for us, OC?
Absolutely. So let's discuss a couple of things in here. First of all, it's going to be the trend lines that I have. All right. So we have one trend line coming back down in here. This trend line has been a pretty good one. I know it's a little spaghetti-ish, but I think it's important to keep those trend lines within this analysis. So that's why it's going to be divided in three. So the first trend line is going to be this downtrend line in here that right now we are breaking through, breakthrough, support, and then, well, supposedly going through, right? Then we have another one that is not right here, but this is this one here. And let me show you how it looks like if I just loosely put it in here. It looks like we already have broken it, right? Let me just remove that, and let's go to another one where it's more better placed. Where is it? Here it is. All right, so right here you can see that I have taken the time to actually go through those touches on Bitcoin price action, and we are right on a resistance. We knew that we are back on a resistance regardless, right? Breaking through that dynamic reactor, we're having that little retracement of the goose head. That's a pretty sad goose head, so hopefully we are able to hold that position. And well, let me see if I can make that something like that. So basically we need to bounce right away out of our positioning here and start hitting some other zones. For example, right here, the 96-100 or the 96-200K. That will quote unquote guarantee that we have a cushion back down to have a better retracement, or at least a flat pause of bullish continuation, and give us a better chance of a 100K zone to revisit within this week. But other than that, I mean, it is actually having a rejection. We'll see if it holds. This is important because everything will follow Bitcoin except Monero. I don't know why. That thing is just moving by itself. But everything is going to follow Bitcoin. And if we have some position opens, or if we're looking for a couple of entries, well, those might be getting paused at the moment if Bitcoin drops, because I guarantee you that we're going to go pass through all of those supports on altcoins. But you said that you wanted to discuss Bitcoin, the Bitcoin chart?
Yeah, I got some high time frame stuff I want to talk about here, and then we'll talk about Standard Charter, and then we'll do the altcoin breakdown for everybody. So stay tuned for that, guys. Looking at this here, guys, we talked about, and I want to say it was last Monday, so about 2 weeks ago almost, we talked about this reversal that fired off here on Bitcoin's high time frame weekly chart. And from that point that fired off, let's see, how much of a move do we have here? We've gone as high as 8.66%, currently up about 6% from that move. I actually expected that we were going to get a much bigger move off of that reversal. You can see back here, we've had, from where these have fired off here before, we had moves to the upside at like 26% on reversals on the weekly. So I was actually expecting to see that. Back here, we had another one. How big of a move was this? It's not looking too promising, I will tell you, because this is a 34% move. The fact that this far in, 2 weeks now, almost 3 weeks, I guess, we are still only sitting about 6% upside from that reversal is showing me a lot of weakness. I am watching for us to get back above 101,900. That would be our 52-week. That would also be in line with our top side golden pocket projection here, the 618 at 103,552. Okay. Getting it back above these levels are ultimately getting back above the bull market support band, which is now the bear market resistance band, is what we would need to see if we are going to see a move to the upside. However, with the chart that I just showed you saying, hey, you know what? We've got this scenario where we're cutting rates at this point of the all-time high. We get months of pullback, a couple of months. I actually think that we need to really have our bias looking at, okay, if we do get that couple month pullback, do we come down into the weekly dynamic reactor? And I've showed you guys how strong this thing is historically here. I mean, look, perfect support resistance levels right now, holding us as support, about to lose it. While we're in this rising wedge, which breaks to the downside a lot of times. So to get to the upside, what would we need to do? It would be we need to break 103 and hold above that level for a couple of weeks and then give us our push. How high could we be looking if we did that? According to Standard Charter, they did cut their Bitcoin forecast in half. They had initially said $300,000 Bitcoin in 2026. Looking at this now, though, Bitcoin should only reach half of that level that Standard Charter had previously expected for the flagship digital currency in 2026. The cryptocurrency should now hit $150,000 in 2026, down from the earlier $300,000 target set by the firm. Still, the new target reflects upside of more than 65% compared with Monday's closing. Standard Charter also lowered outlooks through 2029. Jeff Kendrick, the firm's global head of digital asset research, said he now expects the $500,000 Bitcoin level, OC's level, to be met in 2030, 2 years later than previously forecasted. So that's according to Standard Charter. They are lowering theirs. I think if we are going to do that, though, we would have to completely break the 4-year cycle. It would have to be a broken thing here because we would be seeing this big pullback, 50%, and then the higher high coming in, breaking previous high, very similar to what we saw in 2021, but on a later scale going into 2026. Okay. And mind you, the math checks out on this, how we, before halving, post halving, in between time, averages out. We should be looking at the bottom of the market coming in October 2026. If we were to go up and do this higher level, then this entire 4-year cycle would be completely negated. And at that point, we would have to reassess how does this move if it's not on a mathematical cycle of midterms and election cycles, right? But overall, guys, I do think that if we don't get back above and hold 102,300, 102.2, I think if we get stuck below that, even if we make it up to there and reject, then I do think that we have to follow that we are still on a 4-year cycle. And now that rejection from the 52-week SMA up in line with where we called over a year ago would be our top in between this golden pocket, pretty damn close to it. I don't know anyone else that called the top of the cycle a year ago and nailed it like that, except for this channel. But if we look at what happens here on that pullback and then retest of the 52-week, that leads to bear markets traditionally here. So, lose it, back, retest, down right there. So if we don't get above that level, then I think that $150,000 Bitcoin is coming way later, probably in early 2027, mid 2027 at the earliest. So that's what I'm watching there. OC, your thoughts on this? This Standard Charter, they cut their shit in half, man. It's in half. 300,000 to 150,000, and now you're $500,000. Now you're, hey, the real Wave Cipher in the house. What is up, dude? Appreciate you being here, man. Always great to see Wave Cipher in the house with us. Your thoughts on this? Your $500,000 Bitcoin not being until 2030. How does that make you feel? Tell me how it makes you. Let's talk
Well,
about your feelings.
well, there is divided, right? First of all, it's like, well, we're not gonna get it. That's fine. We knew that was a bigger of a risk, right? Going through that part. But also, if we're not gonna be hitting it till the 2020, what was it?
2030?
What was the year? 2030. Well, that means that we might still have some more Bitcoin to grab, which I mean, slowly getting there, and that also will be all right with me. I mean, waiting just a couple more years, 5 more years is not much. We already have waited 5, and look at the
Yep.
parabolic movement. Yeah, something that I'm more curious about is what we talked about yesterday. About the possible cascade effect with Michael Saylor. And why did I bring this up? And that is because if we're not going to get the top, are we going to get the bottom? Hopefully we are, right? And don't get me wrong, I don't want to see people losing their money or anything, but I absolutely want to grab some more cheaper Bitcoin. And if I get that opportunity, I absolutely going to be taking it. So yeah, that also gets me excited too.
Yeah, yesterday, D Jenny from the blockchain, I'm trying to find the comment here on it. D Jenny from the blockchain, he asked a question on our lives because he goes back and watches the live streams later. If he's watching this today, shout out to you. Appreciate you being here, watching this, D Jenny from the blockchain. But he said, Piper, he said, if Bitcoin gets up to 108,000, what do you do? Because that would obviously break above the 52-week simple moving average. He said, would you treat it as a dead cat bounce and sell again? Dynamic DCA all the way up. What's Piper's move if Bitcoin goes above 108,000? And I said, yes, yes, and yes. Either way, I have protected gains and positioning to either have a stack for the next relief rally, which is my USDC. I sold at $126,000 and then started DCAing immediately on a weekly basis. And I'm talking with all of my profits. If you guys aren't tracking, if you're not aware, I pulled in almost $250,000 in this cycle. So I did quite well. Everyone that says that this bull run sucked, I don't know what you invested in, but you should have been following us over here. But I've been sitting on that cash and heavily dollar cost averaging it and following the Piper plan every week. So I said, either way, I have protected gains. I protected that stuff. Positioning to either have a stack for the next relief rally, right? Meaning I've been buying in weekly, and if we pump, that's going to make gains also. Or I could be feeding a winner. If it breaks $108,000, I've already been dollar cost averaging since October on a weekly basis dynamically, meaning the further it pulls back, the more money I put in, right? I multiply the DCA based on wristbands. You can, if you don't understand that and you're a member, go read there's a document and a video in the Discord pinned. But if it moves above that and I keeps going, then I'm going to be feeding the winner, and it's going to, you feed your winners and it keeps making money. It's not about what price you buy it at. It's not about at what point do you, say, how many tokens do I have? That doesn't matter. What matters is that your total capital increases. Period. And so if you're feeding a winner, obviously everything you've invested so far is going to be making money. And then everything you're adding to it on a weekly basis is making more money. Growing capital is the name of the game. And people get hung up on how many tokens they have or how much they had to buy back. Irrelevant. Grow your capital. And so if I have to feed a winner, I will feed a winner. It's always better to feed a winner than feed a loser. So that's what Piper does if it goes to 108,000. I ended that comment to him back about grow wealth. That is the game. So yeah, that's the plan that I'm dealing with on that. And I just wanted to give D Jenny from the blockchain a shout out. He's been always coming in and making some great feedback on our videos. So OC, we've got about 17 minutes before we head over to Crypto Coin Mindset, Keith and Trading Intuition over there. Trade Intuition, what do you got for us on the altcoins? And maybe take a look at gold and silver while we're at it too, because them precious metals getting a lot of the money from the market sell-off. So what do you got for us?
Absolutely. So let's take a look at Monero. Monero's been doing fantastically well. In fact, I mean, way better than I was expecting. It's just been pumping here, although it has a lot of volatility, as you guys can see. And at this point, yes, we have a sell signal. We need to be careful about it. 1 second. I don't know who's calling me at this time. And of course, let me mute you. There you go. And decline that call. Sorry for that. All right, so we have a bouncing here, double bottom, rising back up. We have a sell signal. We need to be careful on those signals because remember, we don't sell exactly on those signals, but on the retracement. And we're getting that retracement. Not only that, we're having a possible reversal. We're overbought. Our consolidation score is very low, and we're somewhat bullish. So I would say that, well, let's keep an eye for the next movement downwards, and then we can sync up with this little range that has been playing out. At some point, we're going to have a breakout. So let me bring up my indicators in here. Let me wait for those to pop up. It's going to be a little messy, but there we go. All right, so I think that it will be good enough. And then I'm going to start turning them off one by one. The very first one, it's already turned on. So it is basically the quantum reactor. And the quantum reactor is showing me red in here, right here. So be careful. We can still bounce from the quantum reactor as when it's red, just like it happening here. All right, so another area to be bearish. Another one is that we have an area of resistance in between these two zones. Once again, I think that that's a very good area to start looking for a short. And then right here on predictive ranges, we are breaking through that golden area, that golden line. Once again, we need to wait for that either complete breakout and retest or rejection. And finally, this one, last but not least, is that we have our money flow POC at the top. And there it is. And right there, we could be expecting somewhat of a rejection zone, especially as we start turning back around. So I believe that we are right there on a possible short entry, just a little bit more movement to the upside as we start just leaching out of this soft order block area. Going to gold. All right, so gold, we were talking about it not yesterday, or yesterday, did we? Not 100% sure. But I do remember that we are following up as we go, right? And I remember telling you, hey guys, as we start coming back down and we see a bullish flagging here, be careful. It's not going to be a flag. It's just like everywhere else. Every time after this one, it's going to be a range. Maybe slightly tilted range or whatever, but as you can see, it comes back as a bullish flag, and everybody's waiting for it to burst, and then it ranges, right? The same thing happened every single time, and that's what we were looking for, right? We have the blow off coming back down, making the flag. Everybody was waiting for this next blowout, right? And then it rejected. So far, we are still at the top. Let me zoom into golden here. Let's bring chunky candles in the house in here. There it is. And we are creating a pennant, a bullish pennant. That is important because despite we are at the top, all right, we can still break to the upside. I would classify that as a B factors or a plan B, and that is because we already have a little rejection out of the zero line. Not only that, money flow is a little loose, and consolidation score it's basically at 10, the unicorn number. What is that telling us? It's telling us that we are consolidating, highly consolidating, but also after 10, it comes either 0 or 1. Basically, no consolidation, which means that we are also at the end of the consolidation. So we need to wait for that breakout. And what is going to be that breakout? Well, easy peasy lemon squeezy. We're going to be drawing our trend lines in here, and we're going to be waiting for that movement. I do expect this one to be the result. So keep an eye on gold. Not because there's uncertainty in the market means that we are not going to be having the retracement. Gold, it's way better at holding its value, all right, and going up and uncertainty zones. So what does that mean? That after going up, we could be having a little retracement, and then we could have that breakout that everybody is waiting for. This could be your next opportunity to re-enter somewhere around 4,039 and also somewhere around 3,864. That's what I got on gold. Let me go over Silver is also been pumping, and I would say
I love
way much
silver.
more. Absolutely. And something important that this is a parabolic, highly parabolic movement. Let me see if I can draw it, if I have favorite my tools. Yes, I do have it. All right, so it's even. There it is. Ooh, even higher than I was expecting. All right, so this is highly parabolic, which means that we need to be careful, because once we go completely vertical, that's when we start losing the parabola. What does that mean? All right, so that means that at this point, we should be expecting, just like in this point, look at that. When we went completely vertical, we lost the previous parabola by making a little range. So that's what I will be expecting here, creating a little range. And after the range, if we hold the zero line, we are going to be going upwards, creating a flat positive bullish continuation. But if we lose the zero line, I would say that most likely we are going to go revisit dynamic reactor, and then we'll have to make another analysis in there. At this time, just for
I think we
security,
hit
let's just hold it. Yep.
I think we hit $75 silver before that happens.
75. So you think that we're blowing up here after we hit
Absolutely
58?
do. Absolutely do.
Wow. Nice. Let me bring out my predictive ranges. I don't have them in here. Let's just wait for a second. There it is. So, I mean, my predictive range started at 67. I would actually go for the range. Go for the range. Look at that. We have a soft order block. We also have a liquidity
Oh yeah,
zone,
I'm
and we
talking
have
before
a.
it gets that big of a pullback. I'm
Oh,
thinking that it
oh,
hits $75 before we get that big of a pullback.
oh, got it, got it. All right. All right, but I would say that, yeah, I mean, 58 on my end, I think that's fairly possible, and then hit it up to 67. But good. I mean,
How's the
that's great.
daily looking? How's the daily looking on silver for predictive ranges?
Let me bring that up. Daily, that's where it's showing a much higher growth. That is actually hitting to 71.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yep. I think we get up there. I find it
Nice.
interesting that we hit
I
new predictive ranges and we went straight for the blue delta median, though. We talk about that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at that. Broken and hit the blue. Nice. Let's go. Let's see if we can, because now that I'm seeing a daily, I think you get a point. I mean, look at that. It's curling back up. I'm still going to hold it for a little retracement, because this is very parabolic, but you got a point. And as silver goes up, I mean, as gold goes up, silver also goes up. Because, guys, remember, there's silver plated with gold. That is one of the most used second-hand conductors metals out there for pins and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's what I got so far on the metals and the alcos. I don't know if I went over ICP. I don't think so. Let me just finish up with ICP. ICP, we have a sell signal here, but we're pretty flat. We're at the bottom of I tend to call this the absolute zero, when it's basically not reacting. So that's exactly why am I looking at this. It doesn't mean that it's not going to go lower, but the chances of it going lower, they're getting smaller, right? And well, I would say that at this point, we could be looking for a retracement to the upside, or even just a little movement down here to 311, $3,003, and then back up to this point. So once again, we are basically at the center of the hot dog. We just need to go for the very first movement and then counteract it, and that is going to be our next trade. So let me add 2 alerts on ICP right here, and let me just adjust it. That will end up being at 4.017, and another one right here on the predictive range at 3.58, 158. So that's what I got so far on altcoins. Let me pass it over to you.
Fantastic. I was just looking at shout out to Baru. He was talking about trend-based fib extensions, and he's absolutely 100% correct. That is what you do when you're in price discovery. There's no levels of support to look at for resistance, I should say, previous support levels that are now resistant, stuff like that. So if you want to get into price discovery, you have to look at something
volume is gone on my end.
You're right. How about that? There we go. If you take a look, we did it from the low to high to low. There we go, low to high to low. If you take a look, we had a lot of play here on the phase one golden pocket here. Okay, 50% fib, almost exact pullback on that pullback that we had when we broke the moving average, and then it gets to bounce up again. Breaks through into platinum pocket, finds support, pushes up, almost had a one-to-one retest there on that pullback. We are just now hitting into the phase one of the price extension here on fib-based trend extensions. If we're looking at this and we assume that we're going to hit, at least a 50, that would be $72. If we look at the phase one golden pocket, which would be the 1.66 to the 1.618, you're looking at $80 to $83 per ounce. So absolutely correct. If you're in price discovery, you have to look at that, and you can see, even though when we get pullbacks here, the wave has stayed bullish. That can do that for a long time. For a very long time on a weekly, it can just keep going higher until it crosses. Not even close to getting across right now on the MVP oscillator for the weekly on silver. So I just wanted to.
Muted again.
Am I muted? Oh, there we go. Cool. I was muted. And it went muted. Sorry about that, guys. I hit the wrong button. Silly me. One thing I will point out, I'm back. I got it all. Shout out to Luna Beaches Crypto. Appreciate you being here. Shout out to DJenny for the blockchain. He must have heard his ears were burning. He heard his name. So that's about all we got today, guys. I appreciate everyone joining us here. Oh, no, there was one more thing. But wait, there's more. Here, traders say the Fed rate outlook for 2026 will have the most market impact today. This is what we were talking about earlier. This article just dropped 57 minutes ago. It's not the rate cut. They said, don't worry about the rate cut. It's cooked in. That's a thing. Don't worry about the Federal Reserve announcing a rate cut in a few hours. A quarter-point reduction is baked into the markets. It's going to be the 2026 rate outlook that Jerome Powell talks about. That's going to be the big thing. And of course, the dot plot that comes out today, a lot of people are going to be looking at that. In September, when the Fed last issued its quarterly summary of economic projections, the central bank projected only one rate cut in 2026. The bank's so-called dot plot, which anonymously showed 19 individuals' expectations, indicated a median estimate of 3.4% for the federal funds rate, currently at 3.75 to 4% by the end of the year. I don't think that we get. I think we're going to be hard-pressed to even get the one rate cut unless the new Fed Reserve comes in May and just follows 100% what Trump says. And I think that's actually going to be even worse for the economy, in my opinion. As it stands, that outlook won't get a more favorable for the stock market. We think forward guidance will pivot in a neutral to hawkish direction as the Fed goes on hold for at least the first few meetings of 2026. In that case, it would put pressure on the stock market that has been languishing of late. The S&P is actually down 0.1% for the month. The Fed's policy announcement is slated for 2 p.m. Jerome Powell will then hold the news conference at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, which will hold the clues for the future rates. And so that's that speech that I was talking about, guys. I do think he's going to be coming in and hitting people with some very hawkish rhetoric, and that's going to cause markets to potentially sell off. And according to that article, we could see even more of a pullback on the S&P. How will Bitcoin fare on that? Typically not too well. So Blackie Chan said new Fed chair is going to cook the economy. I don't tend to disagree with that statement. Appreciate you guys joining us here today. Make sure you guys tune in to OC tonight at trade setups with OC Guy, and then tomorrow morning BC Port Corp will be back with Good Morning Crypto, all right here on the Piper Academy Network. So make sure you are subscribed. If you haven't done so and you got any value out of today's show, smash that like button and hit that notification bell and get notified every time we go live. We'll be back here at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, giving the breakdown of what happened at the FOMC coming up today, giving you guys the news, the charts, the knowledge, and everything you need to have knowledge. Until next time, guys, trade safe. Use some risk management. And as always, peace, love, profits. We'll catch you guys later.
That's the rap. Chart stack data never lie. Piper led the mission, OC in the sky. Spaghetti on the screen, but the vision stay prime. Chart prime visual, signals on time. Alumni strong, we built from the grind. Lessons in the market that'll outlive time. Knowledge is profit, you know how we run. Till the next one, stay sharp, get it done. We'll see you at the next one.
Don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Morning market report out. 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 Out.
Boom shakalaka.
We'll see you at the next one. Morning market report out. We'll see you at the next one. Morning market report. Ow.
We're heading over to Crypto Coin Mindset. Make sure you guys drop your graduation caps when you get over there. Let them know the alumni and the OGs have entered the building.
That was awesome.
Graduation
dude.
caps
Hey,
and
did it
honors.
break? What else you got?